Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have someone who is a actor and performer for 35 years, a safety consultant, instructor, keynote presenter, and author of the #1 selling book, The Power to Speak Naked. He's thriving right now despite a medical incident that paralyzed the left side of his body for over a year at age 17. And he's been acting in film and television since he was 6 years old after his father passed away and suddenly in a motor vehicle accident. Tyler Foley, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Oh, thank you for having me here, Dave. I'm looking forward to this and seeing how we can serve your audience best. So let's jump into it.
Absolutely, and it's so delighted having you here. And I know you've got a powerful story to share and the things you've done in your life. So let's get right back to the beginning when you're 6 years old. I mean, obviously that's the first form of adversity you encountered. And let's talk about that and then your journey in life to where you are now, what you're doing right now, yeah?
Well, I mean, where I am right now, I feel is a direct result of everything that has happened, including starting with my father passing away at 6 years old. Yeah. I know when it first happened, I didn't really outwardly grieve my father's passing for almost 6 years. And
you mean you didn't do it? You didn't grieve it?
I didn't grieve it.
Okay,
I and I was young. At 6 years old, it's really hard to appreciate the finality of that, to really understand it. It's not that I didn't cry. It's just that I didn't process really my father's passing. And subsequently, I think my mom and my uncle were a little concerned for me. And I think they were looking for an outlet for me. And one of the things that they found for me was the stage. And I got to be on stage and start performing at a very young age. And I was born a performer. I'm sure I would have found the stage one way or the other, but I know that it definitely accelerated my path towards it. So as tragic as my father's passing was, one of the unintended outcomes of it was me finding my voice in performance and finding my way to the stage.
So how did you find it?
Well, because they wanted me to have this kind of creative, expressive outlet. And my uncle worked for the city of Calgary, and the city hall is right across the street from the main performing arts center.
Oh, okay.
And he would, permanent bachelor, he wouldn't bring lunches. He would go out for lunch, and so he'd be dining across the street quite regularly, and overheard one of the casting directors complaining about how hard it was to find a kid to play Tiny Tim. And she's like, "How hard can it be to find it?" And he asked, and I'm a small guy to begin with. I mean, even in my adult life, it's hard to tell because the camera adds 10 pounds, but I'm 5'7" and 140 pounds at the best of times.
All right. Well, that was my racing age. I used to do track and field, and I'm 5'7" and a half. I'll beat you by about half a centimeter. But I was an 400, 800 runner at 140 pounds.
Yes. So, it's funny. Well, I come from a family of runners. My cousin was training for the Olympics years and years and years ago.
Oh, wow, yeah. I did the Olympic trials as well.
Yeah, and still does a lot of running now, and she's in her mid-40s and loves to compete. I'm not nearly as fast as her, but I used to run track, and I did.
You used to run track as well?
Yeah, I'm 4x400.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Well, I was a Commonwealth Games semi-finalist, so And
There you go.
I'm glad you're from Canada, because when I have a lot of my US guests on, they Commonwealth Games.
They don't know what the Commonwealth Games
I know
are.
the Olympics and the Pan Am Games, you know.
Yeah, and I was like, I would have loved to have been able to compete in the Commonwealth. And it seems to me, actually, Cindy was training for that too, but I could be mistaken with that, because I can never remember where her track career took her, but it was quite far. But so, you know,
Let's get back to your story,
Yeah, when you're wee that way, as I was and still am, it was an easy role to fill. And I even noticed it with my daughter too, because she's 6 years old, and
I've got a 6-year-old daughter as well.
See, I
told you we had a lot in common.
It's true. Every door we open, there's just more and more that you and I have in common. We must be related.
Yeah. But it's your story, so let's tell the audience. I mean, I'll weave in bits of mine. Don't worry, it's all right.
But yeah, no, like, you know, my daughter, she's 6, and she regularly plays 3 and 4 on film, and that's just, you know, it was the joy of being that small. So that's how I got introduced into the arts, was because from a physical stature I was small, from a creative stature I enjoyed it, and they were looking for an outlet for me. And then when I was 17, as you'd mentioned, I had a medical incident that paralyzed me for almost a year, left side of my body.
What happened then?
They don't know. See, that's the mystery of the universe. I don't know what happened, and we don't have any conclusive medical evidence to say.
Medicine's like that, though, isn't it?
Well, it can be, and I remember it being incredibly frustrating for me when it first happened. But it was also a great gift, because not knowing what it was meant that I didn't have a diagnosis, which meant I was free to try everything, and there was no indication that I couldn't get better. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know if I would, but there was nothing definitively to say that I wouldn't. And but I remember New Year's Eve, 1996, going to sleep and being fine. New Year's Day, 1997, waking up, and the whole left side of my body was paralyzed and it couldn't work. And when your entire life has been dedicated for 11 years previous to performing arts and acting, and you know, I was going to a fine arts high school, and I was going to graduate that year and go to either New York or LA, and I was going to be a huge star on either Broadway or Hollywood, at least in my head, you know, and that was the goal. And then when your craft, literally the instrument that you use, is taken away like that, it was devastating. And it made me realize just how much I loved performance, and how I was a performer, and I did everything I could to regain control of my body again, because I wasn't going to settle for not being an actor. And I was lucky. By the time I graduated high school, I'd had about a 95% recovery, and I literally went straight out to the West Coast, moved to Vancouver, and I continued to act professionally for another 7 years, and then I retired at 25, because, you know, 20 years in the industry, I was entitled to retire. And at that point, I ended up going back to school, getting an engineering discipline, starting my own business. And
how was that transition then? Because I mean, obviously, some people, they want to carry on acting for a long time. Some people don't. It's like sports as well. You know, you can come and go whenever you want, really. But
yeah, so I ended up getting really, really jaded and really complacent around 25. I distinctly remember the day I'd come in, I'd auditioned for a decent role. There was a production that was filming out there, and they were just throwing away money. And I'd read for a role that didn't even have any lines. They asked us to come in and improv, and they were going to cast 5 guys for this role. It was basically an extra role. But they were going to pay us double principal performer. So when you act, there's different categories. There's actor, and that's 5 or fewer lines, and then there's principal, and I think that's up to 8 or 10 lines or something like that.
Oh, I see. What, for like the extra role, or
Yeah, an extra is
Yeah.
right. Extra, you don't say anything, you don't get a credit
Yeah,
in the
that's right, yeah. I did a bit of extra work as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so you understand. And
Yeah.
in this case, it was a non-speaking role, so it really could have been they featured, but it was basically an extra role. But
you don't get paid much for non-speaking. That's the thing.
except for this one, they were going to pay double principal.
Right.
And they were going to cast 5 of us, and so literally, it was the easiest gig that I was ever going to do. And I went in, did the audition, and at the time, I was actually living in a small town called Penticton, which is in the interior of the mountains in BC, and it's about a 3.5-hour drive from Vancouver. On a good day with no traffic, which is rare in Vancouver. And so I had done the audition, was on my way home, and there's a point just about an hour and a half into that drive where you get off the main highway and go down what's called the Crow's Nest Highway, Crow's Nest Pass. Right. And you enter into an area called Manning Park. And I mean, it's the middle of the mountains. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was 0 cell phone reception. Yeah. And so literally just before I got to the park and I was just on the range of cell phone reception, my agent phoned and said, Tyler, you got a call back. And I was like, oh, cool. When do they want to see me? Typically, you have like a day or 2 or 3 or a week in between audition and callback. She's like, well, the studio executives are in town. They want to make a finalization on this right now. So if you can get back there, they want to see you in about 2 hours. Yeah. And I'm literally like, I'm halfway home. And I'm barely, like, if I busted it, I was 2 hours, I was going to get to the studio. And in that moment, I was like, I don't want to go. Right. And as soon as I realized that I wasn't willing to go back for a callback for a ridiculously easy gig, that I needed to reanalyze my priorities when it came to acting. I did turn around, I did go, I did book the role. In fact, there was 5, like I said, 5 of us cast, frat boy 1 through 5. I ended up being frat boy number 1, so I got the top billing of all of us. We got literally no lines, and I got paid double scale for a principal role, which was just unnecessary. And so I made a good paycheck that day, and then I decided at that point, I'm going to retire and go back to school, because if my heart isn't in it like that, I shouldn't. I should have been jumping up and down. Yeah, call back. They want to see me right now. Let's go. And instead, I was like, oh, do I really have to?
Oh, right. Okay. It's a bit like, when you feel like, when do you quit sport? Even at the highest level, it's like, this is going to be my last race, isn't it? And if your heart's not in it, and it's the same, so you're performing. It's still you're performing. If your heart's not in it, you're not going to perform as well, are you? And then that's when you realize.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I even did that when I was playing hockey. Like, I'm an ice hockey. Yeah, ice hockey goalie. And I remember there was hanging up the pads for probably 10 years just because I'd stopped having fun doing it. Yeah. And now that I'm in my early 40s,
you want to do it again?
And I play with a fun group of guys that are plus 55. So now I'm the young one on the team again, and
that's happened.
Invigorating. I'm like, let's do this.
Well, what happened with me, I felt like that when I did track from high school. I was one of the best in the country for the age group. And,
Commonwealth Games, my friend. You don't get there by being a slouch.
That came later, but the thing is that when I got to a point where I thought, well, I know how far I can get. It's not going to really be, some people, when you get to senior level, it's a whole different game to when you're junior and youth. So it got to a point where I always wanted to be a firefighter. We're going to talk about your career after you went back to college, because it's similar in terms of the health and safety. So that was my career, being in the fire service, whereas I was really like doing jobs in between, thinking, will I be a firefighter or do I carry on track? And I didn't carry it on. But then when I was a firefighter 2 years later, I thought, well, I'm keeping fit being a firefighter. I thought I'd go down the track and do the kind of cardio stuff. And, some of the training there, it helped me. And 400, 800 was ideal, So I just suddenly became quite good again in the country. I got ranked quite high. And that's when I did the Olympic trials, Commonwealth Games, like that. So, but anyway.
Did you ever compete in the police and fire games?
I did the World Police and Fire. Actually, I was in Quebec, but I was injured. I did the one in Quebec, so I have been to Canada. And then I did the one in Ireland, Northern Ireland, but it was the end of my firefighting career. I had to leave because I was health issues, medical. but
Yes.
I did the stair climb. I didn't do track then, so that was quite interesting with all my fire gear. My fire gear and
I love watching those games. They make me happy.
I might go and do the one in no, the Portugal's only the firefighters only actually, because I'm playing golf these days, so because I'm not allowed to compete competitively, but golf's relaxed enough.
I see. It's a noble sport. I do love to play. I come from a long with last name
golf?
Foley. Last name Foley. You better be chasing the.
You're probably a lot better than me if you're already a hockey player. So,
ironically, no. But my cousin trained to be a pro. I have a few other pros that are loosely related to me. My uncle lives on a course and helps maintain a course, and was an investor in a course. So
it's a good mind game.
Plays.
It's a good mind game as well. Good relaxing. You don't have to be at a good level just to enjoy it. Kind of like running as well. Some people just go jogging just to,
between golf and running, I like it because you're only ever competing with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to be able to see incremental improvement on your own, those are the kind of sports that I like. And it's one of the things that I liked actually about goaltending and ice hockey. It's still a team sport, but when you're a goalie, you're on your own, and so there's a little bit more of an individual style to it, but speaks to my personality.
Well, yeah. So anyway, let's get back to what happened. So you went back to college, and then?
So I got an engineering discipline, and I started a business doing aerial photography and mapping.
Yeah.
And when you do that, your primary client is the government, and they insist that you have a safety program. So I went and I had to get a whole bunch of safety training so that I could then build said safety program. Unfortunately, the business didn't pan out. It flamed out a quick death, unfortunately. But I had all this safety training, and a friend of mine said, if you take these couple of other courses, you'd be a really good safety consultant, and I'll pay for the courses because I need one to come up and work on this project that I have going. So I said, all right, and I trained up, and I got my National Construction Safety Officer designation, and started working in and around safety, doing a whole bunch of on-site monitoring of crews.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. You mean crews as in like workers?
Like workers. Yeah, the construction guys. In my case, a whole bunch of electricians building multi-million-dollar project, almost billion-dollar project up in northern Alberta.
Now, being from the health and safety, obviously as a firefighter, but obviously fire safety was part of my job as well, so I can see that serious.
Well, and this was a large industrial project up with the oil sands in northern Alberta. So there was a lot of safety that was
oil and gas kind of
oil and gas
industry. Yeah. Wow.
And so
good pay, though.
It was so here's the funny thing. So it was really, really good money, and one of the things that drew me to it was this call of the paycheck.
Yeah.
But I had actually gone on site and we, because of the number of moving pieces and the number of stakeholders that were in it, we had a lot of bigwigs that would come through the project to check on progress. Yeah. And we were having one of these milestone inspections coming up. And I went into the site and, there was a whole bunch of guys that just were not working safely. And I went off on a rant explaining how, I used to do stunts in film, and one of the things that I specialized in was high falls out of windows. And I went on this rant to the couple of guys that were working really unsafely off of some ladders. And I said, listen, if I could jump out of 6-story windows and tell the tale, that was safer than what you're doing right now. And let me tell you why. And I went on this thing. Well, anyway, this executive was walking through the project at the time and heard me. And he pulled me aside a little bit later and he said, listen, tell me more about this. Like, what did you do? And I explained to him all the engineering and all the training and all of the safety that gets put into a stunt that takes up less than a second on film, but takes literally weeks or months of planning and design to execute. And he said, do you mind saying that at the next toolbox meeting, which is the morning meetings that they conduct at the beginning of the day? And so I said, sure, not a problem. So the next day, he asked me to speak up as part of the safety moment in the toolbox meeting, and I said it to everybody instead of just a couple of my guys working unsafely off of ladders. And another executive was there, and he said, "That's fascinating. Would you give that as a keynote presentation at our next safety stand down?" They do them once a year, these annual safety stand downs. I said,
Right, okay.
"Sure, absolutely. What's a keynote?" Because I didn't know. And he had a chuckle. He's like, "Oh, just, it's a 45-minute talk." I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Give me your business card. I'll have my my secretary reach out to you, or my admin."
Yeah.
And so they did, and they asked, how much to charge for it. So then I had to phone a couple of my friends who I knew are speakers, and I was like, how much do you charge for this? And they said, well, about this much. And that was like my entire month's wage. So the safety up in the oil fields was paying not too bad, but this keynote thing, it's this 45 minutes for basically, half a month's paycheck.
That's nice work if you can get it.
That's nice work if you can get it. So I wrote it down. I was like, I'm sure that they will push back on this. I'm like, there's no way they're actually going to do it. So I just wrote in the number, and then they said yes. And I was like, oh, well, if I can do this, now this is what I've got to do.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of people do it alongside the other work they do, what they're known for.
Exactly. And what made it great was that it took everything that I had done up until that point and melded it into this perfect career. So I still get to be on stage. I get to have this sense of performance. I get to feel that I'm being of service too. Like, that's the thing. When you're in film and TV, it's fun. But there are very few projects that I've done in my 35 years of acting that I can look back on and be like, see, that made a difference, or that was a good project to do. But every time I get to do a keynote presentation on safety, or now I've transitioned into training people how to be public speakers. And when I can see people who are passionate about their message start to make a difference by being more confident on stage, by being able to really help change an audience's thought process or ideas around a subject, that's rewarding for me time and time and time again. And so it's been this really nice evolution of my career to this point where now I can feel that I'm actually contributing to society and doing something with my talents and my gifts that matter.
And the acting career helps with it as well, doesn't it? Sort of speaking is kind of like a performing thing as well, isn't it, really?
Well, and it not should it be? It is, and
it is,
really good speakers recognize that, and there has to be this artistry that goes into it, and it's critical, really. Good speakers understand that it's a show, that there is performance that goes to it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be full of PowerPoints or massive PA and big projection screens and props and stuff like that. A really good performance, a captivating performance can be done without all of that stuff. Exactly. It's a matter of tuning into your own instrument. Yeah,
it's captivating. It's a bit like, if you're a good stand-up comedian, if they're captivated, obviously if you're laughing, you're not laughing much, and it's this guy's boring, then it's not going to. And it's the same with motivational, because motivation is a feel good just as much as a good joke, So if you can really inspire and motivate,
I would argue that stand-up comedy is actually harder. In fact, I would postulate that it's actually the hardest of all of the performance arts,
right?
Including public speaking. I think comedy and being a stand-up comic is probably the hardest, because when you come to a speaking presentation, like if I'm just going to speak, you don't necessarily know what it'll be. If I'm funny, great. Maybe I'm, inspiring. Maybe I'm motivational. Maybe I, make you think differently. Maybe I make you cry. You don't know the emotion that you're supposed to feel when I first start. And in fact, you don't know what emotion you're supposed to feel through all of it. It's up to me to guide that performance. Exactly, But you go to a stand-up comedy show, first of all, most of those guys only get 8 to 12 minutes for their set.
Yeah.
The really, really good guys do an hour.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and how
Yeah, I mean, if they're a big
15
name,
minutes-
it's all about them, isn't it?
It's
a big-
their own show, but it's still
Yeah.
only 60 minutes usually.
Yeah,
Typically, if they're a headline show, and like Russell Peters or even Jerry Seinfeld, like they're doing hour sets when they're headlining.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what you're supposed to do. You go there and you're supposed to laugh,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and you're supposed to laugh regularly. Like it's just like every 60 seconds. If you're not laughing, they're not doing their job.
pressure is on the delivery.
Exactly.
The pressure is on there, and
that's why I think it's the hardest out of all.
yeah. And as an actor, it's like learning your lines, and if you get it wrong, or I mean, we can talk about stage fright and things like that as well. It's a kind of similar thing because I know, some comedians are actually very nervous unless they're in the mic on a roll with what they learnt, their lines, because it's lines as well they have to learn, but in comedy, not in, otherwise they're not funny.
So one of the most shocking things I ever saw, I was very lucky when Jerry Seinfeld came to Calgary a few years back to be gifted tickets by a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's a comedy buff, loves comedy. He's an amateur comic himself. And he was supposed to go with a couple other people, and they couldn't make it for some reason. And so I was last minute available and got the ticket. But because he wanted to literally study a great, he got 3 rows back and just off of center row. So I could smell Jerry Seinfeld when he came out on stage. We were that close.
Yeah.
And he shook. When he first came out and he went to take the mic, I could see that his hand was trembling. Like the man had stage fright.
Yeah.
And was nervous going on. And then he took it, and then as he started to go, he relaxed into it, and he was able to like calm his nerve. I could actually see the whole process transpire.
You're good at doing that.
But I was like, you are Jerry Seinfeld, and you're nervous taking the stage. And that was truly eye-opening and humbling and really cool to see that, you don't have to be nervous, but hey, look, this, like, if you are, you're not alone. Jerry Seinfeld, who has been doing this for decades, is still nervous to talk in front of a crowd.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've heard stories of, I think it's Chris Rock, someone was at a concert. I mean, I just read it on a kind of forum. He said, "Oh yeah, he dropped the mic, and I was right next to him in this, sitting down in the audience. When he went to pick it up, he was as nervous as hell. Like you could see him shaking, and as if he forgot his lines, and like that stage fright feeling. But then once he got a mic and got back into it, so I just knocked my mic as well. Once he got back into the mic, and he just got back into the role again, he was, because he had to rehearse what he had to say and make them deliver. So he wasn't in that realm when it wasn't part of the script when he dropped the mic and, his people saw him.
Well, so, and you had mentioned stage fright. Stage fright's a real thing, and 77% of people surveyed will express some form of anxiety around public speaking. The funny thing is people think they're afraid to speak in public, but they're not. They're actually really afraid of public judgment, and a lot of that comes down to just that, having to know the words. Yeah. So many people focus on memorizing a script, and it's a complete disservice. If you're public speaking, don't memorize a script.
Maybe a few bullet points,
Exactly. No, it is.
Just to know where you're going, the journey of where you're going, where you're taking them,
I love that you use the word journey, because that's exactly it. You need to know what your end destination is. Right. But you need to be able to get off the highway. Like if there's an accident that's blocking the freeway, you need to be able to go take a side road or detour through a couple of different towns to get back, right? If you want to go from say London to Edinburgh, right? Like do you take a car? Do you take a train? Right, like, because that's the other thing too. You get stuck on a train, that's a single track, and you're going this way. If you at least take the car, now if there is a couple of roadblocks or stoppages, or if you need to stop and get gas or go to the bathroom or whatever you need to do, now you can detour and weave on your way.
And that's the same with speaking. Doing that kind of in presentations.
And with speaking, if you lock yourself into a script, it's actually like booking a plane ticket, not even a train, right? A plane, you got your one-way ticket, and if you're stuck. Like if the plane breaks down or if your flight's canceled, you don't get to your destination. And that's what being locked into a script is. And that's why, again, I think that comedy is so
because you're locked
difficult as a performance, because it's all about timing and word placement and word choice.
A lot of skills involved.
And so they definitely have to memorize that delivery. Yeah. Where with me as a public speaker, I have the freedom to pivot at any given moment because nobody knows what I'm going to say. And even if they have an idea of what I'm going to say, I have the freedom and flexibility to say it differently each time. Where as an actor or as a performer, delivering material, you are locked into this script. You are locked into these words. And if you don't say these words in these order, everything else falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, obviously, and on this show, on all my shows, I tend to sort of sidetrack a bit just to talk about something different. But I always get back because I always explain what the format is going to be and what we're going to do, that kind of thing, the end goal of how we're going to talk. So with this, you've gone round what we're talking about, comedy scripts, back to your presentation, because that's what we spoke about first, was how you got into presentations, from someone inviting you to a first 45-minute script that you didn't know. So now that's what we're going to do now, is actually get back to talking about that, because we just got sidetracked, and now, that's exactly what we're doing. That's what I do.
Well, but that's the freedom of not being locked into a script, is you get to have these little circuitous journeys, which I think serve an audience better.
Yes, yeah.
Because
some
now
podcasters.
Well, it's an organic conversation, right?
Yeah,
and you know it. And exactly to your point, right? You get some of those podcasters, and I know. I'm on a tour for the book, so I have recorded over 130 podcasts now in the last 80 days. And thank you, by the way, Dave, for being a really, really good host who allows us to have these journeys. Because I have some of those podcasters, and we've all listened to them, we've heard them, where they're stuck to the script. They're going to ask this question, then this question, and this question, and
it's rigid. It's too rigid.
They're just jarring at times too, where you're like, that it doesn't fit with the flow. Like, we were over here, and you forced in this, and really unnaturally. I roll with the punches with those, but that's the freedom of not being locked into a script, is that you can have a natural and organic conversation, and that usually serves your audience better, because then you can take them where they want to go as opposed to where you think they should go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I do have some guests where I have questions that they've sort of scripted out, say, well, here's 5 questions you can ask, the guest gives me, but I have them in front of me. I've only got one with you because I knew this was going to be a natural, organic conversation because of what we have in common, and even more came out, but I always have it in front of me in case it's not really going well. So I've got these questions. Well, I suppose you could say they're bullet points. So to say, okay, well, look, I know what I want to get the audience to, the purpose, what I want them to talk for you to your message. But if it's not going well, then might have a hunch feeling, or maybe this guest might not, get this full 30 minutes of inspiring conversation. I'll have these just in case. But I suppose it's like bullet points. But that's the only time I have those questions, set questions in front of me.
Well, I'm fascinated to know now, what was the one question that made the list?
It's meant to be a secret so that everyone gets to know at the end. Actually, it's quite a simple one, really. But we'll wait until the end anyway. So
sounds excellent. I eagerly anticipate my one scripted question.
It's no big deal, but it's just one that inspires people to think about something. Really, it's a very simple thing, really, to be honest. So it's not something that's going to surprise you. You might think, "Oh, is that it?" You might say, "Is that it?" I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to that in about 10 to 15
Exactly.
minutes.
So tell us what happened then. So you got into this presentation now, being a presenter. You found out you could make big money because someone offered you, the price you wrote down. Then what happened after that?
That was fairly recently. I mean, that
okay.
That happened in 2014.
Right.
And I was, like I said, thoroughly amazed that was even a possibility of something that I could do. And then I rapidly realized that although it was something that I could do, I didn't know how to do it. And so I spent a couple of years really learning what was involved with being a public speaker and making that career. And I found an agent. I got involved with the Speaker Bureau, started joining associations, and really studying, studying good public speakers. Like I would go and I would watch Les Brown, I'd watch Tony Robbins, I'd watch Derek Hardy, Brian Tracy, like you name it. I would go and I would go see, some of the
they're
guys
the pioneers of this industry, really, aren't they?
Oh, I wouldn't say that they're the pioneers, but they're definitely the current giants.
Yeah, I mean, there were ones before like Dale Carnegie and Stephen Covey and people like that as well. But generally they were
Zig Ziglar.
Ziglar, they were in the 60s, 50s, there were big ones as well, weren't they? So
and there've always been well-known orators who have come through, but currently those are the ones that if you that you can still study live. I'm blessed in my journey. Not only have I gotten to watch Les Brown live, but I've actually gotten to share a stage with him and be on stage.
Oh,
with
wow.
him.
That would be amazing. That.
And he is a phenomenal individual and, a man who's been living with cancer for a few decades now and still going strong, and that's like watching Les come alive on stage.
Yeah.
Especially when some of the struggles that he has health-wise. Yeah. And you just see him in his element. I mean, it's the most awe-inspiring thing that I have ever witnessed. To see how because he gives his all, and he honestly, he's one of my favorite of everybody that I've worked with, that I've watched, that I've seen, that I've studied. Yeah. Les Brown's dedication to the craft and how he inspires and the way that he does it is second to none. And I have a great admiration and a love for him.
Yeah.
But that became my goal, was to be that good and to understand why, because I feel, and many agree, that I have the natural talent. I have the tools in the toolbox.
Yeah. But
that doesn't instantly translate into great public speaker. You need to really work on and hone your craft. And so I became an absolute student of it and dedicated years and years and years to training. And, and like I said, it's some lesser known names that, it doesn't matter where the presentation is. I will go and I will watch speakers regularly. To see what they're doing and pick up tips and tricks. Some people are great examples of what to do. Some people are great warnings of what not to do. And in all of that study, a lot of people started asking me, well, how do you do what you do? And then I started to have to piece all of these things together and say, well, this is what I've witnessed from this person, and this is what this is how I've integrated it into my presentations. And now, not only do I get to do the public speaking as a career, but I get to train people on how to do it. And like I said, that's the more rewarding for me, is showing people how to overcome this unnecessary fear of public speaking. Yeah. Because most people, again, 77%, according to most studies, have this anxiety around public speaking. But we actually aren't afraid to speak in public. Anybody who's gone to a restaurant and ordered food.
Yeah. You're speaking in public.
It's speaking in
public.
Especially
a big crowd behind you saying, come on, hurry up. You're making a big order. We're waiting there for ages.
Exactly.
So hold on, wait a minute.
If you can go into a restaurant and do that, and if you don't know the person serving you,
or the people behind getting
or the people behind, right? You can speak in front of strangers. So that's the other thing. When people are like, oh yeah, but I can't speak in front of strangers. I'm like, do you know the people in the restaurant? So most people actually don't have a fear of public speaking. What they have is a fear of public judgment. And when we can get them to overcome that fear and really have the confidence in their messaging, I mean, I've seen it time and time again where I've seen people who are terrified to get up and speak, at the beginning of one of my workshops, and 2.5 or 5 days later, go up and just destroy the stage and leave people truly changed with their messaging. that brings me great satisfaction. Like that's when I come alive, is to be able to know that I had input into that I could be a part of that person's journey. And, I want to make sure that everybody that I work with, I leave them better than I found them. And that if I can do that, I've served my purpose. And so I really enjoy it. I find it incredibly satisfying.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you also teach it now, and you have this program called the Method, is it?
Yeah, so the method is the very first, the introductory into all things within the Sean Tyler Foley realm. And the method is a 5-page or a 11-page document, a little easy to digest, free download, by the way, Dave. Any of your listeners, if they want, they can go to SeanTylerFoley.com. And Sean is spelled the proper Irish way, SeanTylerFoley.com. Anybody who goes there, they can download, and I think you'll have it in the show notes too. They can download the method, and it's 11 pages, 5 insider secrets that are really, really easy to implement. That'll make people a little bit more confident and give them a little bit more structure when the next time they are asked to present publicly. And it's the first kind of introduction into what I do. And then, we've got the book, and we've got the training courses, we've got the online training. I've got so many ways. I do one-on-one private coaching, so there's a lot of ways for people to end up working with me. But the method is usually that first introduction of, hey, if this is a thing that you are struggling with, try these 5 tips. They've served me over 35 years and have served me well.
I might well have a look at it myself. It's free, but anyway, I've spent an hour, almost 45 minutes with you today, so 40 minutes actually. Yeah, so before we go on to that question, which is, as I say, a very simple question, but you also have a #1 best-selling book as well, don't you?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Tell us about that.
Well, The Power to Speak Naked is my #1 best-selling book, despite the fact that I can't advertise it on Jeff Bezos' site because apparently it doesn't meet their
is that what I told you?
Oh yeah, no, it's I've had all of my advertising, and Facebook. Facebook doesn't like the cover either because I've got the really, really handsome dude looking away, the title of the book covering up anything indecent, but they feel that it doesn't cover it enough.
You could always have 2 different books with the same book with 2 different covers, couldn't you? But
I mean, I could, but do I want to? No, I am married to this cover. I think it speaks exactly to how I want it, and I'm not willing to bend just because other people aren't. So I stick with the cover. But I self-published the book in 2019. Was lucky enough to make bestseller on the Amazon list.
All right.
But it got picked up by a traditional publisher who actually came across my book while being at one of my workshops. In fact, one of my workshops that I was facilitating with Les Brown. It was Les Brown's workshop, and then I got to come in and do a little bit of work with his group that he was training on the last day of a 2.5-day seminar.
That's huge anyway.
And my publisher was in attendance or got a copy of it by another person who was in attendance, and ended up reaching out to me and said, listen, this is a really good book. Have you thought about publishing it traditionally? And I said, well, I thought about it, but I didn't think I could. He's like, no, I think we can get it. So he actually picked it up, reformatted it a little bit to make it a little bit more bookstore friendly. Right. And it will be out in bookstores September 7th of this year.
Excellent.
So
that's good timing. That's only 2-3 weeks time.
Yeah,
about a month. Yeah,
I am pumped for it. So I'm really excited to be able to actually walk into a store and pick up the physical copy of the book as opposed to having
who's this book by? Oh, it's me.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's been fun to see it, on Jeff's site, but. He's got enough money He's been able to fly to space, so it'll be nice to be able to support some of the local bookstores, mom and pop shops.
Yeah, and all the bookstores are open in the UK, where I am now in the UK, because we've been open for business, no lockdowns since about a month ago. 17th of July, I think it was. So
yeah, we were very similar over here too.
Yeah, so I think the world is starting to slowly open up for business now. So certainly we'll be checking out your book. Anyone listening on the 7th of September onwards? Excellent. Well, now for that question.
Yes.
How do I discover my why?
Oh, this is my favorite question. Well, I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, I will tell you exactly how to discover your why so that your audience can hear how to discover their why. But before I do, I want them to hit pause on this because they're listening to this recorded somewhere on some device, on some platform. And what I would like them to do is just hit pause right now. And when you hit pause, I want you to hit pause for a very specific reason. And that is because if Dave is providing you value with his show, and if you are coming back regularly, the only way that this platform can grow for him is if you, the listener, give it a 5-star review. So I want you to hit pause right now. And on whatever platform you're listening to this, I want you to give it a 5-star review or a share or a like or a thumbs up or whatever they're prompting you to do. And if you can be so inclined, leave a review. What was your favorite episode? Why was it favorite? Direct people to this show and share it with your friends so that they can be served as well, because it's not an easy thing to do. And I promise you, as somebody who's been on hundreds of podcasts, Dave is an incredible guest. And this is a fun show to be on as a guest. We want to make sure that Dave can keep having good guests on and serve you better. So take the time, give it a 5-star review. And now, if you're wondering how you find your why, the first thing to do is to adopt the curiosity of a 5-year-old. And my daughter just turned 6, but from 3 to 5, and even now, all she ever does is ask me why. Why? Yeah. And she doesn't stop until her curiosity is satiated. And so what we typically do in the workshops that I conduct, because it's important to find what our motivating factor is. So one of the first things that you ask yourself is, why do I do this thing? You know, why am I driven to be a public speaker? Well, because I do enjoy the attention. You know, that's if on a very surface level, you know, I like the attention, but I also like being in service of people. And so then you ask yourself why. And for me, I know that I know what incremental change can do, and I know what saying the thing that you're afraid to say, the impact that can have on an audience, because I've seen and witnessed on so many occasions when people open up and are vulnerable, how quickly they can have an impact on an audience, and a lot of times in a way that was unexpected but very welcomed.
Yeah.
And so I start asking why and why and why, and you ask why until you can't ask why anymore. Yeah. And it takes a lot of soul searching, and it takes a lot of honesty, and at some point you start to feel a little bit of resistance down in your heart and down in your gut, where you're like, whoa, now I'm starting to say things that I'm not comfortable with. But I know that when I start doing this exercise, I usually come back down to the fact that at 6 years old, when I had to hear the sound that my mother made the day that our family physician and a police officer came to the door and told her that she was never going to see her husband again, the sound that she made was the most animalistic, most haunting, most gut-wrenching, spine-chilling noise that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And I never want to hear that noise again. And subsequently, I have spent a better part of 3 decades chasing laughter.
Yeah.
And I know that hearing people happy or hearing people moved, being changed for the better has been a motivating factor for me for my entire life, because I know what the sound is when their life is changed for the worse. And when I do my why, that's, I have two very deep-rooted whys, that being one of them, the other being my daughter. We live in a society that is evolving and changing and growing, but I know for a fact that my daughter's voice will not be heard as loud as mine. Right now.
Yeah.
That crushes me. I hate that is a fact right now, and I am doing everything in my power to change that. In fact, even the dedication in my book is to my daughter, because I want her to be heard. My dedication says, to my daughter, may you always have the courage to speak up for what you believe in and the confidence that your voice will be heard. And I truly, truly, truly believe that. And I want to make sure that if she ever has any message, that her gender or her age do not limit her, regardless of how old she is. And that anybody who has a message can share that message effectively and powerfully. So those are my two big motivating and pushing factors when I do my deep dive into my whys, and I would strongly encourage anybody who's listening to do it. And adopt the curiosity of a 5-year-old. Like, really ask yourself why, and don't limit your answers. Do a free flow, free thought exercise. You could have multiple paths and avenues, and I would just do that. I would ask why, and then I would answer it. And then I would look at each one of those answers and go, okay, well, why is this? And free flow exercise, write down why. And you'd be surprised at what reveals itself over, a 20, 30, 40-minute exercise of doing that.
Yeah, wow. Well, that is one of my favourite questions I like to ask some of the guests. And I did ask the previous guest that because it was a question he said, but it was the author of the book, I think his name's Sinek something.
Simon Sinek?
That's it, Simon Sinek, yeah. So I said,
and he's got a great process for finding your why too.
Yeah.
I just like mine because it's simplistic.
That's it, exactly. Well, you can always modify what other people's sort of model of it is anyway. So.
But anyway, his is a great process.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, it has been entertaining having you on the show, and it's really been, the reason it flowed is because, there is some kind of like stuff that I can relate to with what you've done. I know you weren't a firefighter, but you was, safety consultant. I mean, obviously, when you're an officer in the fire department, you're that kind of still in that realm of,
public safety is public safety.
Exactly. And obviously, the speaking, the podcast I'm doing and everything else. But I haven't been as good an actor as you, so I just did it as a little bit of spare cash in my days off as a firefighter, so.
We'll get you on set. There's still a career for you in stunts.
Oh, is there? All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll see. I'm worried about my fear of death has grown a bit more since I've just been diagnosed with prostate cancer as well. But yes. I'm not sure if it's the type I had is.
Well, and as I said, Les Brown has lived with it for decades. So if he can do it, you can do it.
Well, that's right. The doctors say, maybe it'll get to a few years, and then we don't know if we can do anything. But Les Brown is, there's lots of people that's lived a long time, with it.
I wish you a great recovery from it, and good health. And I will continue to monitor your progress, Dave, because I enjoyed this conversation, and I want to have many more for years to come.
Definitely, you'll be invited, welcome to come back as a guest anytime. And hope the listeners listening now has been entertained as well. And as I say, this naturally brought out certain conversations that quite natural, because it's stuff that I'm sure my audience will be interested in, because they wouldn't listen to me. So, right, excellent. Well, anyway, Tyler, thanks very much for coming on the show and sharing all this today.
Well, thank you for having me on, Dave. It was a pleasure.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.